Day two of renting the Canon R8. And the overheating has made me remember just how frustrating the Canon R6 Mark I was and its overheating problems when recording 4K 60 internally, or externally for that matter, actually. But it's one of those things that you kind of forget it even exists until you have to deal with it. And here's some of the numbers. So recording internally 4K 60 standard IPB, which is the long GOP H.265 codec, 11 minutes and 28 seconds before it started overheating. 4K 60 light IPB, so more compression, smaller file size. I got 21 minutes and 35 seconds before overheating. And then I thought that for sure, if I was not recording internally and just had my camera going HDMI out to an external recorder, that there'd be no overheating issues at all, because you would think a lot of the heat is actually generated from recording. But no, HDMI plus the internal screen, 4K 60 out, overheated 27 minutes. And then oddly, and this was with the screen flipped out to ventilate more heat. With the just HDMI, where the internal screen is blacked out, I got 16 minutes before it's overheated. And that's probably had to do with the fact that I didn't wait for the camera completely to cool. Like, okay, I haven't used the camera for 2 hours now, and I've been recording for 1 minute, 48 seconds, and I already have right there the little heat meter. It's got, I don't know, 10 bars. It's at 0 right now, but it's saying this puppy's about to warm up. So that's frustrating right there. Now, something to note is even though when I got to 21 minutes with the light IPB, the battery started flashing red, so I plugged it in USB-C, and though it's kind of not giving you any confidence, it was blinking red for, I don't know, 10 minutes, but it didn't actually die. So meaning there's enough power going USB-C, even if you're at like 1% battery, to keep it going. And the camera didn't shut down. It didn't shut down from battery, it shut down from overheating. All right, 2 minutes, 45 seconds, and I've got 1 bar of the overheating going right now. And all right, let's keep going. Overheating aside, there's a couple more things that have popped up. So you don't have shutter angle, only shutter speed. So like right now I'm 1/60th of a second. It'd be nice to be able to do shutter angle, so I could do 360 degree. That would be the equivalent right now, or 1/80th if I'm doing 24 frames per second. I want the standard cinema look. That'd be nice. It is 16-bit audio recording, LPCM. Would be really nice to get 24-bit, if not 32-bit, but looking at all the other EOS cameras, mirrorless cameras, they are all 16-bit versus like the Z8, Z9, and the ZF that has 24-bit internal, which is pretty cool. Talked about the overheating already. The battery is really tiny. It's not the same battery that goes into the R6 and the R5, so and given that's because it needs to be in a really slim body. But looking at the camera, I think there's enough space in there, really. Uh, okay, so something I do like is that you get the 4K 60 clean HDMI out for recording uncompressed 10-bit 422. That's really cool. And as I talked about yesterday, the aspect ratio and the grids are really nice to get 4:5 for photos, because that's what Instagram is right now. So that takes out all the guesswork. I really wish Nikon would add that. But while I was recording in PQ, like right now, a weird thing came up where the zebras, which are a really nice feature, you have two different zebras to work from, both adjustable, and you can choose to use one or two. So let's say you have 70% and 100%. You can view each one of those separately or both at the same time, which is really nifty. But I noticed anything while recording in PQ, anything above 75%, does not actually show up. You know, I pointed at the sun, still wouldn't show up. I imagine that has to do with the HLG log response, but it would be nice, especially I always like to use the 100% zebras to know when I'm completely clipping. All right, 5 minutes in, and now 3 bars of overheating. We've got about, I think, 6 left before it goes red and starts flashing. Things that, okay, so since I am comparing this to the unreleased Nikon Z6 Mark III that I plan on purchasing, or at least renting at first, things I'd like to see that this camera has brought over to the Z6, so Nikon can be competitive. Breathing compensation. This lens, the 28mm pancake lens, f2.8, breathes a ton. And without it on, as you saw from the previous video yesterday, it's really, really distracting. So I kept that on. The 4:5 aspect ratio, I don't think Nikon has it already, but if they don't, we really need to see that because, man, is it nice. The fully articulating arm, we know, so the R8 has it, the R6 Mark II has it, the R5 has it. God, if not, I think all Canon mirrorless cameras have it. Right now, the only 2 Nikon cameras that have it, I'm talking about the selfie flip around screen so you can see yourself, make sure that you're in exposure and frame, that sort of thing. This Nikon ZF has it, and the Nikon Z30 has it. And so we know that they have the sort of rights patent rights to use it. I thought maybe they might not be using it because there's a patent, but those 2 Nikon cameras have it. So I'd like to see that in the Z6 Mark III. And even better would be like the Sony A7R5, where you have the best of both worlds, where it both tilts up and then is able to swing around in selfie mode to see yourself if you're recording piece to camera like this. Because I've tried just winging it and placing the camera in front of me with when I had the Z6 Mark I, and that, as you can imagine, is not repeatable because you think, okay, I'm in frame right now, and it turns out you're clipping the top. And next up will be, so they have just the flippy screens, most of the other Nikons. And I already talked about, so the R8 has 16-bit, the ZF and the Z8 has 24-bit. No mirrorless camera so far has implemented a 32-bit floating point internal audio recording. And if you don't know what that is, the higher bit depth allows you to have effectively limitless volume control to the extent input a sensitivity control to the extent that you don't actually have to set volume for your recordings because there's so much headroom that in post you can just bring it up or pull it down. So if you're running run and gun or filming filming anything in a non-studio environment where the audio is going to fluctuate a lot, it's a huge benefit. If you could hear that. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's patents. I don't know if it's competition. I don't know if all the companies have asked each other not to implement it. So third-party audio device companies can benefit off it. I don't know why it's not implemented, but it needs to be. And if we see any camera with that in 2024, I think I'll probably rent it or purchase it just for that feature alone because it's super nice. And 9 minutes in now, and I only have 3 bars left of overheating. Thankfully, I've made it in this video, but I'll say just looking at that the entire time, this little thermometer at the top right-hand corner of the screen does not give you more confidence or hope when you're recording, let alone if you're recording for a client and you saw that, that would be extremely problematic. And then lastly, on the note of overheating, I thought about this. It's pretty easy to explain overheating to camera enthusiasts, like those creating YouTube videos like this or watching YouTube videos for camera reviews. But considering this is a consumer level camera and the average consumer's not gonna really know or even care about overheating, they just want a camera that works, it's gonna be pretty odd to tell them, "Okay, well, buy this camera, but if you do like that smooth look of 60 frames per second and you're looking for 4K," which you probably are because you're spending money on a new camera, you can only record for about 10 minutes or so before it overheats. That they're just gonna be like, "Well, okay, well, why didn't Canon create it differently? Why didn't they put a better processor? Why would you do that? That's stupid." And to be honest, I think they would have a point if they'd say that. Like, why didn't they snip that in the bud or give you at least like an hour? 'Cause even an hour is not asking for a lot if you are selling it as a hybrid photo and video camera.